Welcome to How to Create Personas from SilverTech. We're a digital marketing and technology company working to redefine how businesses engage with and understand their customers. I am your host, Ian Hughes, content strategist here at SilverTech. I write for SilverTech's blog, podcast, and webinars. I'm joined today by Samantha Maltus, SilverTech's principal strategist and personas expert. Sam was recently named a recipient of one of New Hampshire's highest honors for young professionals, the Union Leaders 40 Under 40. She's an in-demand speaker at digital marketing conferences, having most recently been featured at Digital Summit Philadelphia, where she addressed the topic we're here to discuss today, personas. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Ian. So this is the first in our series of Lead to Loyal webinars. Lead to Loyal allows marketers to navigate and optimize the customer experience better than ever before. So by using technology and understanding individual customer interactions, SilverTech drives engagement with integrated business intelligence to enhance both customer-facing and internal user experiences.
Excellent. The agenda for today's webinar looks like this. First, we're going to answer the important question, why do I need personas? Next, we'll go through the 7 steps to successful persona creation. Then we'll wrap things up by sharing the 5 essential elements of every persona. So, why do I need personas?
So I personally believe that every organization should have personas, but here's some backup and a very good reason from our partners at EpiServer. By 2018, 70% of digital commerce will move from business to consumer, B2C, and B2B models to models that focus on the individual customer experience. As our Chief Digital Officer, Jeff McPherson, asserted recently, there's really no longer B2B or B2C. It really should be H2H or human-to-human marketing.
The creation of well-thought-out personas will help you identify the problems you're hoping to solve for your website visitors. Here you can see an example of how personas are used to segment website visitors and show personalized content in the Kentico content management system. As Joe Paluzzi, the founder of Content Marketing Institution, puts it, it's incredibly difficult to monetize an audience of everybody. Trying to do so only reduces the impact of your content and makes it more difficult for your business to achieve its marketing goals.
That's very true. And we'll talk a little bit about how many personas you should have and different things later on in this broadcast, but that's a great point. So for our 2017 State of Digital Marketing report, we surveyed nearly 200 marketing leaders, and they overwhelmingly voiced the value of using personas. Marketing leaders were asked to rate the effectiveness of their website presence toward meeting their business goals. Those that rated their performance as effective were 1.5 times more likely to utilize personas. The full State of Digital Marketing report, of course, is available at silvertech.com for you to download and dive a little deeper into some of the findings if you'd like to.
Excellent. So what are personas? Well, they're the foundation of personalized one-to-one communication. They're fictitious representations of your audiences, who they are, what they like, and most important, what they don't like. By identifying your persona's ideal online experience, your business can create targeted content, navigate an ever-shifting digital landscape, and surpass marketing goals.
Absolutely. And from our partners at HubSpot, personas are not a single specific user. So that's very important to note and to understand. They are a representation of the goals and behaviors of a hypothesized group of users. So it's really a correlation of a lot of different pieces of data that would include things like data patterns, goals, skills, attitudes, and they ultimately make up a fictional character.
So, the 7 steps to successful persona creation. But before we get there, let's reiterate what questions personas will help you answer. They'll help you answer what the user is looking for online, why they're looking for it, what motivations they have to engage, what barriers they have to interaction, and what solutions or content will remove roadblocks and allow the user to engage with your organization. So where do we start looking for these answers? Step 1, the first place to start is your analytics. Once again, Google Analytics proves itself to be one of the most valuable tools in the marketing toolbox. Your audience, acquisition, and behavior reports provide crucial data to inform the demographics, motivations, and frustrations barriers sections of your personas. Here, we're looking at the age report. You can find this under Audience, Demographics, Age. Sam, what insights for persona creation can you see here?
So there's a couple things here. So this will give you a good idea, first of all, of where your website visitors are today. So, and what audiences you're speaking to. So whether or not you're speaking to millennials, Gen Xers, And again, for today. So if there's a delta for where you are today versus where you need to be, this is a great place to start so you can figure out how you need to tailor those messages for the folks you're dealing with.
Excellent. Here's another useful report. Under Audience, Interests, you can find affinity categories. Sam, can you tell us a little more about what we're looking at here?
Yes, so Google actually will trail everyone around the internet. And so no matter what types of websites you're going to, you can actually fall into one of several categories based on the types of websites. So for example, this is SilverTech's affinity categories based on a particular point in time. And so these are the different categories of people who are most likely to visit our website or who do visit our website. So you can see technophiles, so people who are early adopters, and then there's movie lovers, TV lovers, shutterbugs. So this gives you a little bit of an idea for the other types of things that people are really interested in above and beyond your products and services.
Excellent. And another report that I like to use, this one is Location. You can find this under Audience, Geo. Sam, any persona-related insights?
Yeah, so culture and language is one of the biggest differentiators to the human race. So it's really important to make sure that when you are creating these personas, you do include those cultural differences because it can make or break your audience and your brand.
Excellent. The second step to successful persona creation is to include your team. One of the main purposes of creating personas is to avoid self-referential design or content creation. In other words, personas help you write a blog post that your audience would like to read, and not one that you want to read. Sam, how important is it to include your team?
Again, self-referential. If you're writing these by yourself in a vacuum, it's really easy to use your own kind of background for what you know of your customers, which may not be that whole picture. So talking to the people on the front lines, when you're talking in financial services, banking, it would be your tellers or your mortgage lenders. If you're talking in the hospital environment, it would be your doctors and your nurses and even your front desk receptionists. Those are the folks that really have an idea of what kind of pain points people are experiencing. They are normally the ones who get complained to, so you can hear a lot of the frustrations, barriers, as well as the motivations, how motivated different types of people are to use your products and services.
Here you can see we have some sample questions that we would ask stakeholders as we research our personas, such as name 3 of the most common pain points that you hear from customers, or name 3 of the most common positive comments you hear from customers. So in our follow-up, we'll be sending along the slide deck so you'll be able to take a closer look at these questions. Step 3 is social media research. At this point, your company has been using social media for several years, so go back through your historic data and uncover what questions your customer asked, what content did they engage with most, and what common interests do you share. I think even if you're not a B2C company, career or job role will be a key piece of your demographics element. So you're going to want to use LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a tool that I like to use in persona creation or any sort of content writing. Is what I will do if I am targeting somebody like a chief marketing officer, I will go to the job postings for that position and look up what companies are asking of that person and kind of uncover the pain points that they're using and what that person is looking to solve. So I find that I can get a lot of the vocabulary that I will use for, say, the background section of my persona from some of those job listings.
That's a great idea.
Step 4 is customer interviews. So you might assume that if you're creating 3 to 5 personas, you should interview 3 to 5 customers that you believe fit those personas. Sam, how many customers should you interview, and what are some of the tools you would use?
So going back to the point that personas are actually a correlation of data. It's a lot of different data points. You want to do the same thing when you're doing your customer interviews, because if you interview one customer per persona, then that person really becomes your persona. Their backstory becomes that persona's story. And so what you really want is more of a really good broad overview for people who would fall into that persona category. The best way to do that is to interview between 5 to 7 customers. That will give you a good mix of data, not be too overwhelming. Above and beyond that, you start to hear the same things. One other way that you can actually justify your research within that 5 to 7, those 5 to 7 people, and to actually supplement it, is to do a survey. So if you do an email survey, you can have folks self-report, and you can give them different things like demographics that they would fit into, and then you can correlate their answers to the persona as well. So you can actually achieve the ability to reach any number of people through email. So that's another way to do customer interviews.
Excellent. Step 5 is compile your research. So at this point, themes and characteristics should be starting to emerge, and you'll have a solid sense of who your personas are going to become. Sam, any tips for how best to pull everything together here?
Yes. So what I like to do is I put together the same questionnaire for everyone that I'm interviewing, and then when I go back to actually compile that research, is I look at question by question. So question 1 across everyone, question 2 across everyone, and I actually whiteboard out those answers. So then I can start to draw patterns. I can add my own notes, and it's really easy to kind of move things around and understand things. And I do that even before I put things into a spreadsheet. And it really does help to kind of organize your data, organize your thoughts, and even involve other people in that process to be part of that whiteboarding session.
Mm-hmm. Again, including your team in the process.
Yes.
Step 6 is bring them to life. And this is where it all comes together. Choose your photos, give your personas names. Remember, you're not recreating specific real people, but for your personas to be successful, they must exhibit real motivations and expectations. Mm-hmm. Sam, can you share your thoughts on persona naming conventions?
Yes, so there's a couple different schools of thought on this, and where I normally fall is within the alliteration usage. So we worked with a university that has a military student persona, which the military student has some unique needs. They have some unique content, they have deadlines, different things from the standard population of students. And so we named that persona Military Mike. And the reason that we use the alliteration is it allows us to assign an audience type, or allow people who are reading these personas to quickly grasp what audience this persona equivalent is the equivalent of. So again, Military Mike. We didn't want to use specific names because then again, it makes it look like an individual person, which we don't want it to be a customer profile. We need it to be a persona. And then the final point that I'll make here is try really hard to avoid anything that's too goofy or too playful. You've spent a lot of time, effort, and energy, and sometimes money to put all of this information together, and you don't want it to be viewed as something that shouldn't be taken seriously.
Sure. Which brings us nicely to our next step, which is introduce your personas to the organization. Make it a big deal. Don't just email your company. Have a special rollout at a company-wide event. Sam, can you speak to how important this step is?
Yeah, so personas, when done correctly, should be used as part of every job role in the organization. And a lot of the time when we see these rolled out as part of the adoption plan, which every persona should have an adoption plan, people are really surprised by the types of personas and even some of the insights that you can gain, because again, it puts you and your organization in the mindset of that customer. So it gives us the ability to empathize with that customer. So you see things that you may never have seen before, or you learn things that really make a difference. They can be very small things, but make a huge difference to your bottom line in marketing. So all job roles should fully embrace these and should be able to see where they can apply them in their day-to-day role. Personas are also a living, breathing document. So as you roll these out across the organization, there may be things that modify, change, even different sections that get added, and that's completely fine and should be expected.
Mm-hmm. As Sam mentioned, everyone at your organization should know who your personas are, but they'll mean different things to different people. As our partners at HubSpot say, for marketers, they can and should dictate the emails you send, the calls to action your contacts see, and the website experience they have. For your sales team, it should influence the topics and tone of the conversations they have. And if you have a customer service team, it's useful to them in the same way. The 5 essential elements of every persona. In the following section, we'll share the key pieces of information that you'll need to have in your 1 to 2 page persona document. We'll also be showing a few examples. So those 5 elements are demographics, background, motivations, influences, frustrations, barriers, ideal experience. Here we have a sample persona that we've used for a university, a digital persona for Focused Fran. You can see at the top left-hand corner, she's 17 years old, high school senior, and she's from New Hampshire. So we have her demographic information there. Some other things that we include on this first part of the persona is the enrollment plan, her concerns, and the state of mind. Sam, can you speak to how the state of mind is used and what we're looking for there?
Yeah, so these are really, really important words. So while there's only 3 of them here, and it's a very small part of the overall persona, all elements of the persona are here for a reason. And the reason that we really focus on state of mind is we want to be able to give people who read these personas in the future, the people who are actioning on the information that's here, the ability to empathize. Again, the ability to step into that person's shoes, so in this case, Focus Fran's shoes, and really understand what types of things are going to help them utilize your content, utilize your website, and ultimately convert down the path you want them to go down. So state of mind words like excited, focused, nervous, those are all really important to helping us get into that mindset.
Excellent. It helps humanize Focused Fran. And here's her background. As you can see, we have several paragraphs detailing everything from the role her parents play in securing financial aid to the academic interests she pursued in high school. Sam, how long should this section be?
This section, the really important thing to talk about in this section is that it needs to be long enough to tell the story. So this is where you're going to get all the information around how involved her parents are in the overall decision-making process. That does make a difference for this particular persona, especially when it comes to financial aid. That's another area and could potentially be a barrier for some personas, financial aid. You've even got things in here like time commitment worries, cost worries, intended programs. So whether or not she does know what program she needs to go to, or whether or not she's going to be doing a little bit more research before she commits to a particular academic path. These are all things that will become necessary as you complete content and features and functionality and different tools on your website. So again, it needs to be as long as the story needs to be.
Excellent. And here is the third section. This is motivations, influences. Here you want to try to indicate how motivated the persona is to use your website or engage with your content. Some visitors are highly motivated and therefore more likely to spend time learning the site or finding the content that they're looking for, while others may have alternate information sources and less desire to find a piece of information. The fourth section is frustrations, barriers. This section lists the reasons that may stop or frustrate a persona during their online experience and would ultimately deter the user from selecting your products or services.
And with this, I'll add, these items need to be, again, as long as short as they need to be. You need to make sure that the information that is included in here is exactly necessary. So you don't want to add too much, things that really aren't going to be used as part of the next section. But it is important to have just enough so that you can maintain and create that ideal online experience.
Which brings us to the fifth element of personas, is the ideal experience. And this outlines the persona's goals, including features and content that may help them to have a great experience. Sam, how important is this element?
This is my favorite element of all of the personas, and should actually be the longest as well. So this is where all of that research, all those interviews, all that information, and then that beginning story, that background story come together to help you to action on what is going to be helpful for that persona to navigate your website and to ultimately follow that buyer's journey path. So for this particular persona, it was being able to easily find and navigate lists of program offerings, being able to understand career outcomes. It really does mean what is that perfect experience that someone would need to be able to get through your site.
Excellent. I think it's important to remember that personas are not a static document. In order to remain relevant, you must keep them up to date. Your audience data can shift and warrant a new persona or two. Here are a few more examples of personas we've created that you can take a closer look at your convenience. Here's IT Ian, an example high-tech digital persona, or Outdoors Owen, an example travel digital persona.
And notice how the different items here in green change based on the different organizations. So for one, it's IT, so it's software, and then for this particular persona, Outdoors Owen, this is all about being outdoors. So what is their activity level? How much do they research? So it will vary based on each organization.
as it will here with Wellness Wendy, our example health system or hospital digital persona. We see her concerns there include the patient experience. So that about concludes our presentation today. We will be following up with the on-demand presentation. Next up is our How to Map the Customer Journey webinar. This one will be broadcast on Thursday, March 23rd at 2 p.m. Now that you've created your personas, join this webinar to learn how to map your customer's journey and improve the user experience online and off. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm your host, Ian. Pleasure to be joined by Sam. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Ian.